Hey guys, welcome to MeetEdgar's content batching party. So I'm Megan, if we've never met before, and I'm the onboarding coach here at MeetEdgar. Super excited to give you a tour around Edgar, discuss the concepts of batching, and some social media strategies that you can take into your practice. I will let you in on a little secret here that I'm not sure how this content batching party got scheduled because we typically only do these once a month, and we've already had this month. So that means this month we didn't do a lot of promotion around it for this session, which means it's a really small group today, which is exciting because we get to tailor it to make sure I'm getting all of your questions answered. Hey, Tori, welcome. Rob, it looks like you're here. Nadia, welcome, welcome, welcome. Excited to have you all. Like I said, we didn't do a ton of promotion around this because I'm not sure how this date got on the calendar, so I'm excited you guys found it so we can make sure that we're talking just about what you guys want to learn. So I would love to know a little bit about the fact of what you would like to get out of today's party. So you found the chat already, super exciting. Go ahead and pop in there what you're hoping to get out of today's content batching party so I can make sure that we're really tailoring this to you guys. I know a lot of you are new to MeetEdgar, and the pre-party questions that you did submit, I know a lot of you said you were just starting out with Edgar, so I'll do a tour around just to make sure you guys do feel comfortable, but do you guys want to focus more on like the features of Edgar or more on social media strategy? Let me know right over here. I'd also like just to get the worksheets out now, just in case you have to pop off at any time. The worksheets we're going to work off of after I give a little tour around MeetEdgar are going to be what batching is. So I'll go ahead and I'll pop the batching worksheet in there. And this is one of the core concepts that I think saves you the most time on social media. We'll go over that worksheet in a little bit of detail. And then just some ideas about what to post and why MeetEdgar really focuses on a category-based system of posting. So if you've popped into your Edgar account at all, you can see that a category-based system of posting is done in the sense that it allows you to make sure you're getting a variety of posts out to your followers so that it's not just you standing outside of a doorway screaming about your promotions. That's kind of what I like to compare it to in real life, right? If you were a business owner and you wanted to get people to come into your store and buy something, would you just stand out there and scream to them your prices and your features? Probably not a great way to entice people to get in. You'd build rapport, you'd ask people about their problems, you'd tell people about yourself so that they gain that trust. And that is what a category-based system of posting does for you. So we'll go over some of the categories. We'll go over some of that stuff. Let's see, we got some answers here. Rob, batching, awesome. MeetEdgar strategy specifically, we've been using other posting platforms with strategy for over 5 years. Okay, cool. So the strategy of batching your content really comes from this idea that we only want you to have to create social media status updates either once a month or weekly, and you're not actually spending your time babysitting your social media. Batching becomes so much easier when you do it on this category-based system of posting. In your MeetEdgar account, when you open it up and you go to the categories tab, you'll notice there's some pre-established categories there for you. These are just things we know work really well on social media, but of course you can customize those to match your own brand's needs. Things that I always like to point out with how and why categories work is when you do things like, ask your followers questions, or if you tell your followers some tips, or if you produce curated content, you're really building that rapport. So why do things like tips work, let's say? Giving your followers some tips is really beneficial because it allows them to see that you are someone who gets them results. If you can get someone results before they purchase from you, it is much more likely that they'll say yes and trust you and purchase from you in the future, because that's what we're all looking for when we buy something, whether it's a service or a product. We're looking for an outcome and we're looking for results. So even if they haven't purchased from you, how can you offer someone a tip to get a result in their day? This all goes back to knowing your audience persona so deeply, So for example, here at MeetEdgar, we go on our social media accounts a lot and we teach tips like batching that you can do without our software. If we can get someone to follow this system and if we can get someone to take charge of this and see a result in their life, it is much more likely once it comes time that they're ready to purchase the social media software, they'll think of us because we've given them those results. So think about what other concepts you can teach your followers that they can take action on and get a result from, and start loading those in as status updates. I really want you to start thinking about doing things when you're batching, like looking for user-generated content or curated content in order to add into your social media strategy as well. The reason one of your core categories that comes with MeetEdgar is called recommended reads is because you can see a lot of great success sharing curated content from trusted sources without really having to go on in there and create these articles yourselves. Because when it comes down to social media, what do you want to truly do? You want to make sure that you are being proven as the expert in your industry, that you are a sought after trusted expert. Now that means you're going to have to go really deep on one subject. We really recommend choosing your subject and going deep on it and not trying to please everyone, not trying to spread yourself too thin when it comes to messaging on social media. So here at MeetEdgar, what we talk about on social media is obviously social media strategy. We also talk about remote work practices because we're a remote distributed team. And we talk about business efficiency in general, because if you're looking for an automation tool, you're probably looking for efficient business practices. And we really don't stray from those messages very much because we want to be seen as an expert there. So when you're developing your categories for MeetEdgar, I always suggest thinking about things like, what are these 3 pillars for you? What are those things that you're going to go really deep on and not spread yourself too thin? It kind of goes back to that really popular term, you want to go a mile deep and an inch wide, not a mile wide and an inch deep on your subject matter. And categories really help keep you to this. So yeah, Denise, actually recommended reads could be a book suggestion. This is a great way for you to get your thought leadership out there. Same concepts here, Denise. So whether it's you curating articles or whether it's you curating a book for someone to read, what this allows you to do is share content and say, hey, followers, I care about providing you the best content regardless of where it comes from. So you sharing that is great in itself because it allows your followers to see, I don't have to go out and Google what's going on in my industry. I'm just going to follow this person's Twitter feed because I trust their judgment and they keep up to date with this stuff. Now that in itself is great, right? But what takes it a step further with your curated content is if you provide a little bit of thought leadership in there. So talk about why you're posting that article. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? And ask your followers a question. So often in social media, we look at our feeds and we're like, oh my gosh, I don't have any engagement. I know engagement is so important. Why is no one replying to me? But then we look at our posts and we're not inviting our followers to reply. So engagement has to be a huge part of your strategy. And I know it's weird using a social media automation tool, but saying that automating these can actually lead to way more engagement because it allows you to sit down and intentionally think about who you're talking to. It allows you to sit down and say, okay, this is my ideal follower. This is what they want to know. And really, again, produce your thought leadership. So if you're not doing curated content, a lot of the time when I talk to people, they're afraid to share articles to other people's blogs because they're like, wait a minute, social media is supposed to drive traffic to my site, right? But truly, guys, if you are driving traffic to other people's sites, but you're using those status updates in a way that you're asking your followers questions and you're giving a little bit of your own thought leadership, this allows you to have more content on social media without having to do a ton of work, right? You didn't have to actually go out and write a blog post to share it. You just had to write that status update about why it's important to you, and people get to know you that much better. So think about, if you're not doing that yet, bringing a curated content strategy into your social media. MeetEdgar has a lot of tools to help with that, which we'll look at in a second as well. Other things when you're batching your content, truly, that you want to think about are things like, inspirational quotes, whether they're your own thought leadership quotes or other people's. Now, the reason this works so well is because this is some of the most shared content on social media. So this means you have to dig deep into who your followers are and what types of quotes, what types of inspiration you can provide them are going to make them say, oh, wow, this speaks to my identity. This is who I am. This brand understands me. That's what gets people to click that share button on social media, right? Is if they feel like that piece of content says something about their identity. Social media sharing is kind of like word of mouth marketing, right? So you really want to be looking for these things that people are saying, wow, that speaks to me. That actually is something that I want to share onto my own page, right? So that's another reason we always recommend doing things like your quotes. When you do quotes and when you do like recommended reads and when you're doing your tips, stuff like that, something else to think about, and the way that Edgar is set up is to make sure you're varying when these categories go out so that people aren't super bored with seeing the same thing from you all the time. So when you're looking at your schedule, and we'll look at it in a minute when I share my screen here, I always recommend doing, if you're sharing like one of your blog posts in the morning, in the afternoon, make sure the next thing you share is not a URL, that it's not a link, right? The reason is, if you are someone who's sharing link after link after link, the social networks don't love that because you are driving people from their application to your site. You're taking people off of Facebook or Twitter onto somewhere else, right? And they don't love that. They want to keep people within their platform. Of course, you want to be able to drive people to your site. That is one of the main things that we recommend doing. So please continue to share your blog posts. Don't hear me wrong there. But make sure every single thing that you share on social media is not a URL. You will not get as much reach if it is. So one of the ways you can make sure that everything is not a URL is going to be on the second part of that batching worksheet that we popped into the handout section. If you guys came in late, if you look to the right-hand side of your screen, there's a chat. There's also a tab that says handouts. The handouts we're chatting about are right in there. One of the ways you can make sure that everything is in a URL is doing a concept called upcycling. What upcycling is taking one core social media or one core piece of content and making sure you're getting 10 social media status updates for it. So that means if you're like a podcaster or if you're a blogger, you're researching your content for a pretty long time. If you're writing a blog post, you've done the research, you put a lot of hard work into it, that you don't want to share it just once, right? You want to get the most mileage out of it. So of course you're going to share the link. You're going to go ahead and let people know where to read the full article. But what else could you do with that research you already have? You could take out your phone and film a 2-minute video of you actually talking about it. You could go out and you could get some pull quotes from that article and put them as text-only tips to send out so that people who don't have time to actually consume your whole article can still get that value from you. You can go out and create an infographic about it. You can go out and tell a behind-the-scenes story about why you wrote that piece of content and your strategy behind writing it. You see what I'm doing here, and there's a whole checklist on the second page of that worksheet that you can check out there. But make sure you're truly upcycling every well-researched piece of content you're putting out there to see the best results on social media. Cool. So really quickly here, to do the batching math that we recommend with MeetEdgar, you're going to want to pop up that worksheet and look at this first section here. So categories, again, that's what we just covered. The reason we really want those is to make sure that you're getting a variety of content so people get to know you as the person behind it, and that you are truly providing that value for your followers. So think about what the categories are for you. They don't have to be the same ones that we suggest. You can customize your categories in MeetEdgar. Once you set up your categories, this is how batching math works here. So what you're going to do is decide how many status updates you want to send out during the day and during the week. So you want to replace these numbers, the 6, 5, 120 that you see here. You actually want to replace these with what works for you. So this goes into saying, hey, if I want to send out 6 status updates a day, 5 days a week, to get an entire month's worth of fresh content, that's going to be me writing 30 status updates a week, or doing the math out, 120 status updates a month. Holy moly, 120 status updates a month. That sounds terrible, right? But if you use a category-based system of posting, look what happens. If I have 6 categories set up, that's me only having to put 20 status updates per month in each category. Now that sounds way easier, right? So get into the weeds of how many times you want to post and get into how many categories you have and set a goal for yourself. Really do this in a way that it's not set in stone forever, right? Everything you do on social media has to be an experiment. There's the word social in it for a reason. You have to listen to what your followers are telling you through their actions of liking, sharing, commenting. What categories are producing the most amount of engagement on social media? If people engage, that means they like that content, right? So look at what categories people like. You can always adjust these numbers from month to month. But if you do this math, and if you stick to this math and this schedule, look what you can do. You only have to write status updates 1 time a month. 20 status updates into each of those 6 categories, and you're good to go. So that's the true power of batching there. And doing this in MeetEdgar is pretty easy. So if you guys have never used MeetEdgar before, I know a lot of the pre-questions there were all about the features. Okay, that is sharing, sorry. If this cuts out when I'm screen sharing, please sit tight for 10 seconds. I will be right back. This program has been weird with me. I do apologize. Anyway, I want to go over a quick tour of MeetEdgar here and talk about how batching fits into this. Please keep your questions coming about strategy in the comments. I'll pop back and forth and make sure we do get all of those answered. But within MeetEdgar, when you first log in, you're going to hook up all your social media accounts here. MeetEdgar, you're allowed 25. If you have the smaller plan Eddie, you're allowed 3. Your personal profile never counts as an account here, so you'll just go ahead and hook those up. Categories. So this is the true power of Edgar, making sure that you're setting up your categories. So you can click to add a new category, or you can edit the name of the categories here, whatever matches your brand, whatever makes sense for you. Once you have your accounts and your categories hooked up, you're going to start adding content to Edgar. So there's 4 ways you can add content to Edgar. First is going to be manually. Manually adding content allows you to check off the accounts you want this to go to over here on the left. So whenever you add a piece of content to Edgar, you always have to give it support to where it can go. If something over here is not checked off, Edgar will never be able to send it there. After you've checked off the accounts, you're going to go ahead and select the category, so the type of post it is, and then you'll go ahead and write your post here. If you have a URL in here, you can always pop into this preview tab, and you can see like what that Facebook preview is going to look like. You can use this drop-down menu to see like what it'll look like once it's sent to Twitter, all that fun jazz. If you prefer not to have that link preview, but you want to upload a photo yourself, or if you're not having a URL in there and you just want to upload a photo, you can always X out of that gray box, which will allow you to see these are the little icons to attach a photo or a video from your computer. If you remove a link preview and you see the suggested images, these are actually just being pulled from the blog post. So if you wanted to go ahead and just click to add an image, this will share as a static image. You can see in the preview now that the static image is sharing. It won't be clickable, so you will want to leave the URL in there if you're sharing a static image rather than the link preview. Once you're happy with how things look, you click Save to Library. Your library is where everything is stored in Edgar. Everything will always remain here. You can always edit or delete a post in the library. You can sort through the library with these filters on the left. A couple other ways of adding content to Edgar are going to be in this Import tab. So when I click the Import tab here, you'll notice that you have the ability to upload a spreadsheet of content. If you want to see what that spreadsheet looks like, you can go ahead and click on this hyperlink here, and you'll see the first column is just going to be the text you like to add in. The second column is going to be the category within Edgar you'd like it to go into. Upon uploading it, Edgar will prompt you for the account connections. After I'm done with the demo, we actually have some pre-populated spreadsheets if you want to grab those with just some quotes and questions that are really great if you wanted to upload those into Edgar quickly. I'll put those in a chat in a second. The other feature in Import is this RSS Feed Reader, and this is great for your own blog, but it's also great for curated content. So what you're going to do here is just put the URL of the blog. So if I would like to share all of the blog posts from MeetEdgar, I'm going to click on Find RSS Feed. This will go ahead and pop up the details. So I'm just going to assign it to a category. I'm just going to go ahead and assign the account connections. Again, always giving permission to the accounts where these posts can go. Then you'll notice I have the option to either send these directly to my library or send them to a pending content queue. So the difference here is any single RSS feed you add to Edgar here, you can see you can add like a YouTube channel RSS feed or a blog RSS feed, whatever it is, Edgar goes ahead and checks this every 24 hours. If a new post has been released within that time frame, Edgar will automatically bring that over either to your pending content queue or to your library. So if it goes to the library, it's eligible to go out in the rotation of your posts. If it goes to the pending content queue, it's not going to go out until you approve it. So the pending content queue is also in your library. So if I click on this pending content right here, you'll notice that I have this one post that's been brought over because it was new to our blog and it was just released. I can click approve if I would like to share it. I can click edit if I wanted to add in anything beyond just what the RSS feed brings in, which is the title and the URL, or I can reject it if I decide that I do not want to share it. So there's one more way of adding content into the library, and then I'll go back and answer your questions before we look at how you schedule content. But the last way is with our browser extension. So if I'm on a blog post here, let me just bring up a blog post. So this is our blog post. This could be any article that you find online. I can just click our browser extension right in my toolbar. You can see my little MeetEdgar icon right up here. And this will actually bring up the Add New Content screen right on that blog post. So now what I need to do is just check off where I want this to go. I can just leave it in my general category, or I can customize it into whatever category I want, and then I can save it to my library. How a lot of people like to use this actually is more for like trending articles that they want to share out to all their social accounts, but they don't want to spend the time logging into each of them. If that's something you want to do, instead of saving it to your library, you're going to mark it as a use once post if you don't want Edgar to use it more than once, because like I said, if it's a trending article, you just want to send out. Then rather than saving it to your library, you'll click this drop down arrow and you'll see it says schedule, you'll see it says send now and save. If you click send now and save, it's going to send this 1 minute after you click this to whatever accounts are attached over here. If use once is checked off here, Edgar will go ahead and retire the post. If use once is not checked off, it'll go to the end of the line in the category that you've assigned it to, and it'll go back into the rotation of your posts based on when that category is on your schedule. So if you would like to download the browser extension, if you find that useful at all, I'll pop it into the chat. You can also just go to our help center here and type in extension, and it'll pop up under this Edgar bookmarklet and extension article. All right, let me get back to some questions before we look at how you schedule with Edgar. Okay, does the link have to remain in the text box? So if you are sending this to just Facebook, you do not have to leave the link in the text box. If you are sending this to Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook, you do have to leave the link in there. So like when you click to add new content here, Deborah, and you say www.meetedgar.com here, and Facebook is checked off only. Once you see this gray box establish itself here, this is letting you know that link preview was established. So you can actually remove this URL once you see this link preview has been established. And you can see it's still going to send this clickable link preview where people are directed there. If this post has also been attached to like Twitter and LinkedIn, you do need to leave the URL in this text box section here. So if it's only going to Facebook, as long as the link preview has been established, you can remove that. If this is going to Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, or if this is just going to LinkedIn and Twitter, you do have to leave the URL in the text box there. Good question. Does everything from a particular blog or whatever have to be under the same category? Absolutely not. You can categorize your status updates however you want. You know, if you talk about a few different things, you could like customize you could customize your blog to send out like stuff about social media on Mondays or stuff about remote work on Tuesdays if you wanted to like get really specific in the language. A blog can only be assigned to one category if you're using the RSS feed feature. So if you wanted to recategorize some of the posts into different categories, I would suggest sending it to your pending content queue. You'll send it to your pending content queue. And then when you're editing it, so like from your pending content queue here in the library, if you wanted this blog post to be a part of a different category than you've automatically assigned it to, when you click edit on the post, you can always recategorize that into a different one before saving it into your library. Cool. Yeah, I just realized you're asking about the RSS feed probably there. Tori, is the schedule on a rotation or do we need to set it ourselves? Great question. So let's talk about scheduling now that we looked at how you can actually add content to MeetEdgar. And I promise I haven't forgotten about those spreadsheets. I'll put them in a second as well. So once you add content to your library, you'll notice you're not really sure when it's going to send out, right? That's because when this stuff is in the library, nothing will send out until we tell Edgar when on our schedule. So there's two ways of scheduling in Edgar. The main way is going to be right here on the schedule tab. And this is a week's view, right? But this week repeats over and over again. So you do only have to set it up once. And this is the true power of that set it and forget it that MeetEdgar provides for you. So when you're setting up your schedule, what you're going to do is locate where you want to send a post out. So let's say Tuesdays, 10 a.m., click into that area. Similar to when you're adding content, always check off the accounts you'd like this to have permission to go out to over here on the left. Select what type of post you want to go out at this time. So this is where those categories come into play. Go ahead and click Save. That will now be a category on your schedule. So how these are working with the library is a last in, first out rotation. So what this means is Edgar's going along here and he's going to hit this category. The most recent post you added to that category in the library will be the first post Edgar sends out when he reaches that category on your schedule. He will send that post out, put it to the end of the line in the category and move along. Next time he hits that category, he'll send the next status update out, put it to the end of the line in the category and move along. So he's going to work his way through all of the posts within that category. Once he reaches the bottom and there are no new posts within that category, that's when he's going to start from the top again, resurfacing your older posts. This is the true power of evergreen content. So writing content that truly will bond with your community no matter what time of year it's sent out. This is really going into the fact that it takes about 14 touch points these days. It used to be 7, but there's been updated research that says 14 touch points with a brand in order to produce that purchase power. So someone has to hear your message 14 times in different ways before they decide to buy from you. This a lot has to do with the fact that we're so saturated with marketing messages these days. It's said that we're hit with 400 different marketing messages throughout our entire day. So for yours to stand out, sometimes repetition is necessary, right? I really think a lot of the time the pushback we get on Evergreen is people are afraid people are going to be mad if they see the same piece of content more than once. Let me remind you, first of all, no one's going to care. If you see a TV commercial more than once on TV, if it was really well done, if it was funny, if it was valuable, if it presented a product or service that could solve your pain point, you're not mad at all, right? Same thing with your followers. Secondly, the algorithms are there to make sure they're serving content to your followers that they want to see. We get really angry at the algorithms sometimes because we feel like we're not having a lot of reach. But truly, the reason they're there is to make sure your feeds are fed with content that is going to match your interests. So if you've done a good job getting to know your followers and you've written your status updates in a way that they really resonate with your followers, people will be excited to see that content in their feeds. So as you're getting used to this evergreen schedule here, the true way you want to look at this is all about the ratio of how many posts you have in a category versus how many times that category is on your schedule, right? So let's say I've added 10 blog posts to my blog post category here. If I then put that category on my schedule once, it'll be 10 weeks before Edgar resurfaces the content. If I put that on my schedule twice, it'll be 5 weeks before Edgar resurfaces the content. If I'm continuously adding new content to that category in the library, Edgar will always favor the new content before he repeats any of the older content. So this is what batching is about, right? Making sure that you're letting these blog posts or letting whatever content in each category run through and be repeated, but also making sure that you're adding fresh content on a monthly basis. So if for some reason 1 month you don't have time to create content, you don't have time to do that batching math that's on that worksheet, right? Your feeds are still going to consistently be fed because Edgar is working for you on that evergreen fashion. That's the true power of automation right there. So how you know where in the rotation of your posts you are is going to be in the Queue tab. So the Queue tab is just the connection between the library and the schedule. This is showing you the date and it's showing you what posts are going out. You can always pause the queue to stop all automation. You can sort the queue to see what you have going to a certain account over here on the left. You can skip posts in the queue. Excuse me. Skipping a post will send it to the end of the line in the category and pull in the next post to send out. But this is going to be your best bet for knowing like what's going out when. So we did say there were 2 ways of scheduling, right? I like to present this weekly repeating schedule because it is truly the way to get the most bang for your buck. And as you're getting started, your first batching kind of go-to marching orders that I like to give if you're first starting out with Edgar is make sure you realize you don't have to have this perfectly situated. Social media is an experimental mindset. Make sure you set your categories, have a batching goal of adding at least 10 pieces of content to each category, popping each category onto your schedule twice. You have a month's worth of fresh content that way, right? Because approximately every 5 weeks, it's going to start repeating. So that's the way you get the most bang for your buck right away with Edgar. Then you can start slowly adding more content to each category on the batching schedule that works for you. And you can slowly start adding more time slots and start paying attention to which categories are producing the most engagement on social media, following those bright spots as breadcrumbs, listening to your followers in that way, and adding more of that category to your schedule. So you're creating a page or you're creating a feed that people are truly excited to hear from you when that stuff comes out. Other cool things you can do with categories, is you can do things like seasonal categories in Edgar. So if you're like a little afraid that you have content that's like only appropriate for like summer language or something like that, remember, posts do not send out if that category is not on your schedule. So you could create a category and call it like summertime posts. You can load all of your content that has that summertime language in there ahead of time, getting everything situated in the library. Those posts won't send out until you pop that summertime category on your schedule. You'll be able to come in, pop that category on your schedule, let Edgar run through the summer months. Once it's over, come to your schedule, click in there, click delete. If that category is nowhere on your schedule, those posts will not send out, but they will remain in the library until the next season you want to use them. If you're doing stuff like that, seasonal categories or categories to promote like a webinar a couple weeks ahead of time or something like that, you can also produce random time slots on your schedule here. A random time slot picks from the library regardless of the category. So if you do holiday or seasonal or promotional categories, when you are making them or when you are editing them, make sure you uncheck this box that says include when selecting random content so that if you ever put a random time slot on your schedule, Edgar will never select from that seasonal category. All right, so that's how you kind of do campaigns or seasonal content with a weekly repeating schedule. But if you have a one-off post, like a Happy New Year's post that you'd like to schedule, that is going to be scheduled differently. And that's going to be on the content level here. So same dealio, you're just checking off the accounts you'd like it to go out to. You're writing your status update here. Under advanced settings, if this is going to be one-time post, like a holiday post, make sure you mark it as use once. A use once post, once it's expired in the library, it will remain in the library. So you can always search for it, edit it, and remove that use once if you wanted to in the future. Then right where we found that send now and save, you also have a schedule send and save option. So if I click schedule send and save, a place where I may put in a day and time pops up. If this is populated with a day and time, Edgar's actually going to hold this until this day and time is reached. He'll then send this out to whatever content or whatever accounts are checked off over here. He'll send it out on the day and time you input here. If use once is checked off, he'll expire it. If use once is not checked off, it'll go to the end of the line in the category it's been assigned to. And if that category is on your schedule, it will go back into that evergreen rotation. So that's the second way of scheduling in Edgar. Yes, exactly, Denise. You can just go on in there, schedule, send, and save all of your holiday posts. That way, when the holiday rolls around, you can relax rather than having to worry about the scheduling. So those are the 2 main ways of scheduling there. A couple other features that I do like to point out, when you are creating content for Twitter specifically, Twitter has a term of service that says you cannot send the same tweet to the same Twitter account more than once. So for this reason, we do have to expire your tweets once they send out. So if you see in your library your tweets expiring, that's why. But you know how strongly we believe in an evergreen strategy of content, right? So that's why we have this add variation button. you'll notice when I click to add a variation, a second text box pops up. So all I need to do is alter the language that I'm using in this post. So if I'm sharing a blog post with the headline in the first variation, in the second variation, could I consider using a different headline that I brainstormed while creating that piece of content? Could I tell a story? Could I ask a question? Alter the language somehow. You're still able to share that same link, that same concept. It just has to have a little variety in it. If you're doing this with a URL in here, so let me grab one real quick. If you have like a blog post in here, you'll notice the second option says auto-generate variations. So if I click to auto-generate variations, Edgar's going to get a text box here that he's pulling out the actual like pull quotes from within that article and writing those variations for you. This, I know this is like a really weird little quirk here, but if this is connected to Facebook and Twitter, you'll notice that you have these separate boxes that say Twitter and Facebook. So the reason for this is because Facebook sees our auto variations as auto-generated content, which is against their term of service. So for this reason, if you do not fill out this Facebook text box, we're not allowed to send the auto generations to Facebook. What we'll send is just the link preview. So if you forget to do that, no worries, the link and the link preview will still share. But if you wanted these or anything else, you do have to like copy and paste this part down into that Facebook text box there so that Facebook is happy and they don't see that copy paste as auto-generated content. Just a weird little quirk. So variations can be used for any of the networks, and it's a great way to test different messaging. We find like if we ask a question before sharing our blog post, we get a better click-through rate than if we just share it with the headline. So that's kind of the power of testing different ways of sharing things. So how these variations will actually work is also in a last in first out order. So when this whole post is up in the rotation of your post based on when that category is on your schedule, Edgar is going to share the last variation first. He will share that out. He'll put it to the end of the line in the variation for Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. He'll expire it for Twitter. Then this whole post goes to the end of the line in the category. Next time it's up in the rotation, Edgar will send the next variation out. He'll have to expire it for Twitter. So Edgar will continue rotating through the variations. They're not going to go out back to back. It'll go out based upon the posting schedule you have. He'll continue to rotate through them if it's like connected to Facebook and LinkedIn. For Twitter, what you're going to want to do is in your library here, when you're setting up your batching schedule, make sure you set up a time that you're coming in and sorting your library by your Twitter account over here. And then has publishable variations. If you do no, this is going to filter your library to show you all of the tweets that are completely expired. If this is a tweet that I want to use again, I just need to click edit, add in some variations, and that will add it back into the rotation. Cool. One last tab here before we get back to some questions and batching strategies is the history tab. So the history tab in Edgar, just an outline of everything that you've sent out. When it comes to batching with your history tab, I always recommend leaving 5-10 minutes at the end of your day, coming on in here. You'll notice everything next to the timestamp here has an arrow. If I click on that arrow, it'll actually direct me to the post right on the social network so I can check in on any comments I need to reply to and really make sure that my engagement rate is up, right? So make sure at the end of your day, you're really taking the time to engage with your followers. If you're doing the work to have a call to action, to have your followers reply to you and you're not replying back, that's not creating a community, right? We need to focus on creating a conversation-based community on social media because all of the algorithms are telling us that connection and conversation and meaningful social interaction between people is what gets your posts, your organic posts, the biggest reach. So focus on that meaningful social interaction by really respecting if your followers reply to you, get back out there and reply to them. It's all, I know, pretty common sense social skills that you do in real life, but so often we forget that when it's technology is involved, that there's a real person on the other side of the screen. So that's another reason that I always recommend doing things like behind the scenes content. I think a lot of the time we're afraid to share these personal stories so much, but we need to remind people of who we are behind the screen, that we're real people, because people buy from people and they want to have that human connection. If they're on social media, they are not going there to be sold to. They are going there to make a human connection, to have a distraction, to be educated or entertained. So really focus on making sure your categories and the content you're putting out there, 80% of it is educational and entertaining content. That's what provides you a really vibrant social media community that people will talk about and tell their friends to join your page and talk about your products if you're putting that out there. 20% of the time can be a little bit more promotional that way, because of course we have to promote our product and really take the mindset that it is your responsibility to sell and promote if your product or service is going to help someone have a better life and solve their pain point. I find looking at sales that way a lot less scary to sell on social media. All right, little tangent, I know, but right here in your history tab, one other thing I find incredibly useful is this all-time clicks header. So if I click on the all-time clicks header, it's actually gonna sort my history to show me the posts with the most clicks down to the least clicks. So this is clicks on URLs. So if someone has actually taken the time to click on your URL, be directed to your site to read that, it'll show up as a click here. This is really awesome at letting you know times of day that you should be putting your categories on your schedule, noticing patterns in the language that compelled people to click on it, all of that fun stuff. All right, cool. I'm gonna pop back into the chat, so let me know if you guys do have anything else you particularly want to cover here. Denise, does the variation just alternate, or would you have to keep going back in after? Okay, so it'll keep going through. Again, for Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, you will have to go in and add more variations for Twitter if they've all been used up, just because of Twitter's terms of service there. If you do that, will it change the Facebook text? So not super sure when you asked that question. I do apologize. But yeah, so you do need to go in, if you see that separate Facebook text box, you do need to go in and populate it. Again, that's just on automated content. That's not gonna be there for like manually added content that way. But if you change the Twitter one attached to it, does it mean the Facebook will see? No, so you do need to actually go in there and put the content into the Facebook text box. If you change the Twitter one, you still need to copy and paste that down into the Facebook one if you use that auto-generate variations feature there. Cool, so let me know, guys, about kind of strategy stuff that you're looking and kind of struggling with. Do you feel pretty confident about kind of how you should sell on social media, how you should populate your schedule, what batching is, what types of content to produce? Let me know if you have questions about that. I'm more than happy to go into that. As promised, I'm gonna go and get the spreadsheets. So if you guys are just looking to kind of get some pre-populated content in there, these spreadsheets are just really great at providing you ideas on like questions to ask your followers, prompts to get engagement. I put that link right in there that you can grab, and you can use our bulk import feature if you want to use these to get into your Edgar account just to get some content in there right away. So other things that are really great resources, if you haven't had these yet, if you're looking for how to set up Edgar, these are our onboarding videos. They're on our YouTube channel. They're just like 2-minute videos of each section of Edgar. I know I talk pretty quickly here, so if you need a reminder of how to set up any part of Edgar, that YouTube playlist will have 2-minute videos of each section there. I want to gain email leads. How would I attach my link for that? Okay, cool. So email leads is great. I'm glad you brought this up. If you guys are not focusing on building your email list, you're missing a huge opportunity. Social media is all about making sure the majority of your posts putting out there are valuable posts. So email gives you a little bit more of an opportunity to nurture and sell. That's behind that curtain, right? That's not out in the public open there. So email leads on social media still need to be in a value-oriented way. So what you do is you produce what's called a lead magnet. This is a PDF, this is an ebook, this is a checklist that you created to help your followers, something that's gonna add value to them. So like, if you're a gym trainer, could you get a PDF of like home workouts, or could you get a PDF of shopping healthily at the grocery store list or something like that? For us here at MeetEdgar, one of our main lead magnets is our secret blogging formula ebook. So that's going to be right here. And you can see all we've done is created this landing page. And what people have to do to get our ebook is enter their email address and we will email them the ebook. It's a PDF of all of our kind of blogging tips here. So this ebook was actually developed out of us looking at our blog and being like, wow, we've written a lot of articles about how to blog properly, but they're not all condensed into one spot. So this information is out there that you could find, but the benefit here is we've condensed it into a flow that works really well. It adds a lot of value to people learning about blogging. We put that out there. People enter their email address there. So the secret blogging formula is just right there in that URL. Denise, sorry about that. I know I wasn't sharing. I'll show you here. So this is the landing page. So when people enter their email address here, we'll send them that ebook. So that's how we collect email addresses in a value-oriented way. So this, you can make a landing page like this for free on sites like ConvertKit has them. We use MailChimp for our email provider. And MailChimp actually allows you to make a free landing page on their free plan. You can make these landing pages and then set up the automation in there to email people the PDF, stuff like that. But yeah, make your landing page, go ahead and get that out there. If you want to collect email addresses in other ways, subscribe to my newsletter is a really good one, stuff like that. But yeah, make a landing page, make a PDF download that people can have. Go ahead and advertise it out there, tell people what they're going to get, start building your email address through social media that way. Yep, so you just add that URL to a landing page so when you click to add new content in MeetEdgar, you'll just add that URL right there. Once that post sends out, it'll be there for people to click on. So when you look at the composer, like when you click to add new content, think about that as if you're just going out and writing a status update, really. Get on in there, write your status update as if you're about to post something on Facebook natively. You'd put that link in there to share. So the same deal in the composer there. But yeah, focus on creating a lead magnet. If you guys don't have one yet, it is going to be a game changer in your business. And if your first lead magnet doesn't work, if it doesn't attract people, use the social side of social media to go into things like LinkedIn groups or Facebook groups and start seeing the questions that people in your industry are asking, that your ideal audience is asking, right? There's a ton of different Facebook groups for every single subject out there. So join some of them that you think your ideal audience persona is in. Go into these groups and see the questions they're asking, the language that they're using, and actually gather that information so that you can create a lead magnet that answers these questions. How cool is it that you could then go into this group, offer value, and say, hey, I have a PDF that is exactly answering this. Here you go. Sometimes these one-on-one interactions, these things that you think aren't super scalable, are actually some of the most scalable, best things that you can do to create a really strong bond and to get the name of your brand out there. So, your page, your Facebook page can actually join groups, and that's a great way to get some awareness around your brand name as well. So as your Facebook page, go join these groups, go answer questions, and make valuable resources for people. And that's how you can really find like a really good, strong lead magnet, because if we can also use the language that people are using when they're asking questions, if we can bring that language into our social media posts, what happens is your followers start to understand that you really get their pain points. Sometimes it can be them saying, oh my gosh, you get my pain point better than I do even. This is a brand that I trust. And sales is completely built upon trust that way. Yeah, so there's a lot of free landing page things. If you don't want to use MailChimp, like I said, ConvertKit, Unbounce, all of these just create those really easy, lightweight landing pages in there. And then just, make sure that you have a really great offer for that PDF to start to grow your email list that way. I find it hard to follow threads when I'm in my alter ego. Yeah, I feel you there. But yeah, just go on in there, really get intimate. That's what I feel so often, that when we say things like, I don't know what to post on social media, what actually is going on a lot of the time is that's us saying things like, I don't know who my followers are, right? Because if you intimately know who your followers are and you've mapped out their day and you've done the work to give them a name, give them an age, give them a personality, know what they're doing throughout the entire day, you know the content that will support them. Are your followers people, let's use MeetEdgar as an example. We know the majority of our followers are solo business owners, entrepreneurs, marketers on small teams. We know you're stressed for time because getting into social media and posting all the time is really a time suck, whether it's you wasting time actually scrolling through there after you post, whether it's you having to log into Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook and all of these to post all the time. We know what you're doing throughout your day, and we've really taken the time to empathetically think about the problems you have and really think about how our content can support you. So do you need a little boost of motivation in the morning to be like, hey, share a little behind the scenes content? I know it's not always comfortable to share personal stuff, but do it, and here's why. Could that post be something we put out in the morning to give you a little boost of motivation that you're on the right track, you're doing well, keep sharing on social media, show up consistently? Could we think about the fact that a lot of small business owners are so stressed, and you shouldn't do this because breaks are so important, but a lot of people will eat lunch at their desk trying to get as much time in as possible. So could our social media post at lunchtime be something like a video or something like a blog post to help show up at a time that perhaps you want to read something that's going to provide you value, but still have that sort of break at lunchtime, right? Perhaps at the end of the day, you just want to have a really happy emotion. So we could put like a meme or something funny or inspirational out there. Or when you get home from work, perhaps that's when you actually want to learn. So that's when we'll go ahead and do our Facebook Lives or ask you a question because we've thought out your day that much. So what is that for your followers? Map out their day and know you have the content to go out and actually provide that for them. And really, when it comes to writing your status updates in these categories, always remember that you have something that is a unique selling proposition that you need to make really aware, right? So there's a lot of different choices in your industry. MeetEdgar, no difference. We're not the only social media scheduling tool out there. So we need to think about what our unique selling proposition is and have that front and center so that we're attracting the people who our tool is going to be right for, who our brand voice is going to be right for. And remember that it's okay if we lose other people, It's okay if those other people don't come, because having a small bonded community is far better than having a million followers who are lukewarm about your brand. So go all in on what your unique selling proposition is. MeetEdgar, we're one of the only ones who does a category-based schedule. We really believe in an evergreen content strategy. We are an education-first company. We believe in providing small marketing teams these educational services like Edgar University and these content batching parties. So that wants to be kind of our lead of how we are different and how we are unique. So we never want to promote comparison in a bad way here at MeetEdgar, right? You don't want to go out and spend a ton of time with your competitors and kind of comparing and seeing what you should do there. But it is really important for you to spend some time looking at the things that they are doing and how you do them differently. Our brand voice is really inspirational. It's really cheeky. It's sometimes sarcastic. Not all brands and not all people are going to latch onto that, but that's how we teach. That's how we write our emails, our blog posts, and that's all consistent across our company because we know our ideal audience and we know we're writing for that one person, that one core group, and we're not trying to please everyone. And that's how you develop a really strong brand. How about if you market to a whole English-speaking world? How do time zones work if there are a lot of engagements suddenly in Australia? So cool. The reason that scheduling systems are so powerful is because you don't have to wake up in the middle of the night, right? So if you have people in different countries on your social media, you can only have your schedule in one time zone, but obviously you can do the math and make sure you're having those status updates go out at like 3 a.m. our time, which might be like 12 p.m. in Australia. To be honest, I'm not sure if that's true. Apologies for that. But so your weekly repeating schedule is only in one time zone. You can change that time zone if you want. But from there, for when you're putting the categories on your schedule, just make sure that you're putting some of them in the time zones where people are going to be active the most. So if you've never done this before, one of the ways that I always recommend setting up your scheduling and optimizing it is by using your Facebook Insights. And let me go ahead and pull up what that looks like here and share my screen again. So if you're wondering like what times a day I should put my category time slots on my schedule, go to your Facebook page. This is obviously MeetEdgar's, but do this on yours. It might be in this section here. For us, it's under this More tab, and it's this Insights. So go to the Insights button, And then over here on the left-hand navigation menu, go to posts. So insights in the upper navigation, posts in the left-hand navigation. This graph is telling you when your followers are online. MeetEdgar, we work with marketers who are on social media during the day, so it makes sense that the majority of our followers would be on during working hours. So we want to bucket our actual time slots on the schedule around those hours to make sure it's showing up when the majority of our followers are online. For you, it might be different. So look at this to help inform your schedule there. And really kind of go pretty deep in the fact that, you know, there's a lot of things you can do in your insights. So if you're wondering like where people are, sorry about that, guys. Cool. So Troy, the industries we work with have strict NDAs with their products and people. Any suggestions for how we can foster behind the scenes feel while not focusing on those? Okay, cool. So yeah, you do need to have boundaries. You know, you need to share a lot, but also know what you can't share. So absolutely, just make sure you have those boundaries set up and look for other smaller things to share about the behind the scenes content. Some of the things I always like to point out here is if people know the work that has gone into something, they're going to value it more. So can you like share a picture of you guys working and describe like what you're working on? If something new is coming soon, describe like who's working on what. If you have different teammates who never appear on social media, can you go ahead and put that behind the scenes content of your team and what they do so people can know all of the humans who go into making the product or service that they're using? You know, other things, you know, share like your morning routine or something like that. The reason this is super popular is because people are really hungry for anything that saves them time or money, right? Those things are super popular on social media. The reason you see so many influencers like share their morning routine is because these are things that their followers can take into their own morning routines to become more productive, to save time during the day. And this goes back to what we spoke to at the very beginning here, which is just this idea that if you can get someone results, even if it's not directly related to your product or service, they're going to trust you. So if you can give someone a morning routine that's super helpful for them and they get results from it, awesome. They're going to then go out and say, wow, I really trust this brand. The next time that you actually sell to them, they've said yes to you once before, it's way easier for them to say yes again. So, you know, just think about stuff like that. You know, the founder of MeetEdgar, Laura Roeder, she shared how she did her laundry once because she only does laundry like once a week. She's got a family with kids. She shared her system for that and people loved it. So it doesn't always have to be related to your product or service. It's that humanizing your brand that's super important. So just think about those other little things. Know what you're going to share, know what you're not going to share there. Things like, you know, what apps you use, what sort of things that you really treasure, something that made you laugh. These all go into producing a personality on social media. Share really does play well with you, doesn't it? Yeah. Cool. So like I was mentioning, setting up your categories, making a goal for yourself to batch out 10, 15 posts into each category and getting on those categories on your schedule is really going to help you get the most bang for your buck. And then really providing yourself the time to do a little analysis, retrospective on the categories that are producing the most content, on the stuff that's working best. So you can alter your schedule, add more time slots, add more content, and really take this batching strategy and upcycling strategy to heart to make sure that you are saving the most time on social social media. You all know that onboarding and offboarding from tasks, so starting something new and switching to something else, there's no way to truly do that without losing a lot of time in the middle. You need to get into that flow state, and it really does make it so if you're writing your status updates just once a month, you can get into that creative headspace. You can have your follower in your mind so that your status updates really resonate and you're speaking to them on a really real level. Awesome. So fun hanging out with you guys today. I will send follow-up emails. I know a lot of you put some goals in the pre-content strategy party today. I'll go ahead and send you some of our favorite blog posts, stuff like that. It was really a pleasure having you, Denise, Troy, Nadia. I know a lot of you stayed a little quiet. Melanie on the chat here, Sharon. So if you guys have any questions at all after this, please let me know. We also run daily office hours. I'll pop the link to where those are into the chat as well. Office hours are completely unstructured. You can just come in and ask your questions at any time. So if you get stuck at any point, I will pop in where you can see that. This link here will always have the updated times. So go ahead and check that out. I hope to see you in an office hour session. We do run content batching parties on a monthly basis. We're trying to kind of get an idea of if it's brand new people every time, or if you guys come back a lot and want to learn new things each time. So if you have any feedback on what you want to learn, if you come back to a content batching party, stuff like that is much appreciated. Send it to support@meetedgar.com. I'll be in the inbox the rest of the day, so I'd love to hear your questions and what we can do to answer you there. Awesome, thanks, Troy. That was really nice to read. Have a wonderful day, you guys, and I hope to see you either in another content batching party or office hours or the inbox soon. So fun hanging out. Have a great day, you guys.